All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Everybody who's been following me over the years, they know that there's no bigger Tyson Fury fan on here, on YouTube, in the YouTube boxing community than me. But at some point, um, enough is enough, right? Uh, I call it like I see it. Even if I'm riding with somebody, I take the good with the bad, and I acknowledge the bad. I don't ignore the bad, right? So nobody's perfect. Everybody has flaws. And you can't always ride with somebody and give them blind loyalty, regardless of what they do or say. You don't have to always agree with a person's actions, even though you admire them or you're a fan of them or you just like how they fight, right? As a boxer. So a lot of things I like about Tyson Fury. I love his boxing ability. I love the way he's so versatile in the ring. I love the way that he can win fights in a variety of ways. I like the fact that he overcomes adversity. He had that horrible cut against Otto Wallen, and he was able to overcome adversity in that fight. Deontay Wilder almost knocked him out in the 12th round of the first fight. He was able to rise and come back from that, and I thought won the fight, but it was ruled a draw, whatever. We all know the story about that. But like I said, man, enough is enough. Um, he pulls out of a lot of fights. We already know that. You really can't depend on him when he says something. 9 times out of 10, the next day or a couple days later, he's going to always change his mind. He's so volatile, right? It's hard to really take this man at his word, right? So this whole situation with Deontay Wilder, I'm convinced that this whole event is cursed. It's one thing after another, right? But I got to call balls and strikes here. I got to call it like I see it. Most of the problems, if not just about all of the problems in the scheduling of this fight, in the delays of this fight, just the constant problems of getting this fight over the line, getting both guys in the ring. It's been tumultuous to say the least, right? This whole roller coaster ride. You can sit there and talk about the whole negotiations with the Joshua potential fight that they were talking about, which I always knew was a smoke screen. I never believed that fight was going to happen. I never believed they were negotiating in good faith for that fight. Now, obviously, hindsight is 2020, but I was telling you guys for the last 5 or 6 months or so that that fight was not going to happen, and I believed that this third fight with Wilder would take precedence over that, which I believe it should have, right? Because of the rematch clause. The whole arbitration thing, I believe, was a scam. I believe it was stall tactics for this, the COVID restrictions to be lifted, and then they could have put this event in front of a live crowd to maximize the revenue and the earning potential of the event, right? So, like I said, Bob Arum continued to delay and delay and delay this fight, put it off, kept saying we needed to put it in front of a live crowd. So he's basically telling on himself. I interviewed him twice, and he threw rescheduling dates out there of December and February of 2021. So he kept throwing dates out there, and then he comes back later and tries to say that, there was an expiration date on the rematch clause, and the date was October, right? He said that the date was October. So why were you throwing dates out there past October if you knew that the rematch clause expired? So a lot of things didn't add up here. Bob Arum pretty much told on himself, saying that this fight has to go in front of a live crowd in order to get these guys the purses that they deserve and that they're required for a fight of this magnitude. He kept saying it. As I said, I interviewed him a couple times. Certain things he said really stood out to me. And, Bob Arum has shown to contradict himself. He's shown to be very hypocritical, as most promoters, right? But Bob Arum recently has taken it to new heights, right? He's taken it to another level. The disingenuous way he's been carrying himself with the press. Yesterday I was lying, but today I'm telling the truth. You just really can't take the man at his word. And I never did believe, like I said, you guys can go back and watch the videos. I never thought that Fury was going to fight Joshua. I always said that fight was not going to be his first title defense. It was not going to be the undisputed fight. I always believed that he would fight Wilder, or that would be the next fight. So now we don't even know what's going on with this. I talked about Fury testing positive for COVID and how I believed that he was very irresponsible. I don't think he really was taking the disease seriously, the virus seriously. I believe that he was just not doing everything he could to protect himself from COVID and his team and even his family, really. If you got one dose and you didn't get the second dose of the virus, as was, I keep saying the second dose of the virus, the second dose of the vaccine. If you got one dose of the vaccine and you did not get the second dose of the vaccine, then obviously you're being irresponsible, right? What good is one dose without the second dose? How effective is one shot going to be, right? So you're out there flying these people in from the UK into your camp, having sparring partners come in. Who knows? I don't know if they're even being tested or not. But just the fact that you didn't get the second vaccine shot tells me right there that you're just being irresponsible and you did not do everything you could to ensure yourself safety and the people around you safety from this virus. And lo and behold, you got the virus. And then without having both shots, you're in a stadium watching your friend Billy Joe Saunders fight, right? In an arena of 73,000 people, knowing full well that you were not fully vaccinated. And that's just what was reported by Dan Raphael, but I tend to believe that to be the case. I tend to believe that's true. I believe that's true, right? Can I say it factually? But given Fury's behavior and just looking at all the circumstantial evidence here, I don't think Fury got the second shot. I don't think he got the second shot, right? So now they're reporting that he's going to be flying back to the UK. So you have COVID, right? And you're going to be traveling with COVID. You're going to be going into an airport with hundreds of people. You're going to be getting on a plane with a large amount of people, and you're going to be traveling with COVID. So once again, the behavior of irresponsibility, right? The irresponsible behavior just never stops, right? So it's been about a year and a half since Tyson Fury has fought, right? So he's never defended the title. He didn't even defend the title that he won from Vladimir Klitschko. And we all know I don't want to go back and do revisionist history here, but we all know Tyson Fury has a history of pulling out of fights. We all know that Tyson Fury has never, ever defended a title that he's won, a heavyweight title that he's won. So again, then you have Joseph Parker, who also tested positive, who was in the camp. He's at a gym with no mask on. He's training around other people. He's in a pool with his kids. I know the state of emergency has been lifted, but again, that does not absolve people from irresponsible behavior. You still have to be responsible. If you're COVID positive, you should not be around other people. So, and put yourself in a situation where you could pass the virus on to others. It's just not smart. It's irresponsible behavior, right? So the whole Joshua debacle, right? We know we really, in my, hindsight is 2020. So I never believed that they were negotiating with Eddie Hearn and team Joshua in good faith. And obviously, the evidence supports my belief, right? They weren't negotiating in good faith. That was a sham. That was all stall tactics, as I said. And I was basically saying that all along. So that's one thing, right? That's one thing that they were using to delay the fight, whatever, right? And then you have like the arbitration, which was another smoke screen, right? Because they knew that they were just stalling it out, and they were going to eventually get Deontay Wilder in the ring, right? So they were giving Deontay Wilder the runaround, kept rescheduling the fight, kept putting out potential dates out there. Then they tried to scrap it all together. And then he goes and gets one shot and doesn't get the second shot. And he's not fully vaccinated, and he's going in a crowd of 73,000 people without a mask on, knowing that he wasn't fully vaccinated, right? Knowing that he had a fight lined up with Deontay Wilder already set, right? This is just ridiculous behavior. This is just behavior that's really unexplainable, right? Why would anyone in Tyson Fury's position, knowing he has that fight and he has millions on the table, right? Why would he put himself at risk? And then you have Bob Arum saying that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are fully vaccinated, right? Along with their teams and the people in their camp, right? Everybody was fully vaccinated. Well, that turned out to be BS, right? Because now there's reports that they weren't fully vaccinated. Now there's reports that Fury only got one shot. So at what point does the WBC step in and say, you know what? This guy is just not fit to be champion, right? It's because of him that all these delays and all these roadblocks and all these obstacles are preventing this fight from happening with Deontay Wilder. So how long is the WBC going to allow Tyson Fury to hold this title hostage due to his irresponsible behavior, due to his promoter's irresponsible behavior in terms of not really negotiating good faith with Anthony Joshua and lying to the public that he was, right? At what point does Tyson Fury and his team be held accountable for their irresponsible, inappropriate, and just flat out playing games, not only with the public, but with the WBC organization itself, right? At what point do they step in and say, hey, you know what? Enough with this. Enough with this. This guy just may not be fit to be champion. If he's going to go out there in large crowds of people without being fully vaccinated, if he's not going to protect himself, and protect his family and protect the team members around him, right, from getting COVID, because he wants to go into a crowd of 73,000 people, right? He wants to go into a crowd of 73,000 people without a mask on and without being fully vaccinated. And shame on Bob Arum for continuously putting false information out there to, I hate to say this, the gullible boxing fans. Then you got journalists like Mike Coppinger just being a parrot, not questioning anything, right? And then the journalists want to say, well, we're just going along with the information that we're being given by the promoters and all this and that, right? But you never got Deontay Wilder's side. And Deontay Wilder decided to be quiet, and that's his right, whether you want to criticize it or not, right? Because one thing you can say about Deontay Wilder and his silence, why that was a smart thing to do, because if you know that something's in litigation, your legal team is going to advise you don't talk to people, don't talk to the press, right? Because your words could be used against you, right? So he knew, Deontay Wilder knew, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to defend him for not talking to the press for all that time because he knew that the arbitration was going on, right? And maybe he wanted to be silent, and maybe he was advised to be silent because he did not want to put any information out there that could be used against him in regards to this arbitration, right? Maybe he's thinking that, or maybe he's being advised that. So whatever the case may be, we have to admit one thing. The reason why this fight has not happened yet, the reason why this fight keeps being delayed, the reason why there's roadblock after roadblock, roadblock after roadblock after roadblock being thrown in the way of this fight from taking place is because of Tyson Fury and his team, and Bob Arum as well. Bob Arum deserves a great portion of this blame, right? I know Bob Arum. I know how he operates. He didn't really fool me, all right? But there's a lot of people out there that don't know Bob Arum, right? There's a lot of people out there that trust Bob Arum and took him at his word. But they shouldn't have, right? They really shouldn't have, obviously. So how much credibility does Top Rank have now, right? And Teofimo Lopez tests positive for COVID. At what point does the promoter just sit down with the fighters and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to put on events with fighters that aren't vaccinated, right? Now, obviously, you can't mandate someone getting the vaccine, but you can mandate protecting yourself. If you're a promoter and you're spending a lot of money promoting an event, right? You have to pay a staff and everything to work on promoting an event, and the money that gets put into promoting an event only to have it canceled or even postponed, right? I don't care what anyone says. You lose money when you have to postpone a fight, right? Because you're paying for press conferences, you're paying for your people are getting flown in, people, there's interviews that's being done. So you're paying the press to do interviews, like you're paying people to do interviews and stuff like that. You're paying for time slots for advertisements for the event, all this and that. Money gets spent during the promotion of an event. So people are saying, oh, they didn't, how much money did they really lose? But no, they lost money. They lost money. It takes money to promote an event, right? And if you're going to postpone a fight, so now they're going to have to start all over again, and they're going to have to spend more money again. So they're going to have to spend double the money to promote the event twice. Basically what's going on here, right? And all the people that spent money and flew over, people who traveled, lodging that was spent on the sparring partners, a lot of what usually happens is the training team doesn't get paid till the fighter receives his purse, right? And then when the fighter receives his purse, he takes that, a portion of his purse to pay his training team, right? Strength and conditioning coaches. Usually that's how it works. Not always, but for the most part, that's how it works, right? So now all these guys in both teams' camps are working with the intention that after the fight, they're going to get paid. So now they wasted all this time and all these training hours with their, with each respective fighter. And they're not going to get paid now, right? They're not going to get paid for their work, right? So money is lost here. People lose money. What about all the people that were scheduled to be on the undercard that were probably banking on that payday, right? They lose money. Okay? So money is lost here. It's not a good situation for anybody, right? A lot of people got screwed over here. Not just the fans. So money was lost. Time was wasted, right? And if you're putting your time towards something, right? So you got this training team. You got this training team, right? You got this training team who's working for you. And now they're not going to get paid because there's no fight, right? So now what do? They could have been doing something else and making money somewhere else, right? They could have been working with another fighter. The trainers could have been working with another fighter, right? So now time was wasted. So Tyson Fury has yet to defend this title. He has yet to defend this title, right? He has yet to defend this title. So let's look at the rules here, okay, from the WBC. And it's so funny how the WBC has these rules, but there's always a workaround for each of the rule that they have in place. So they reserve the right on how their rules are enforced, and even if their rules are going to be enforced, right? They reserve that right. So let's take a look here, right? Mandatory defense obligations. All WBC champions shall make at least one mandatory defense per year, unless an exception is granted by the WBC in its sole discretion. So they have the right to make an exception, and they can use any excuse they really want, to be honest with you. Champion may be required to make more than one mandatory defense per year if the WBC has designated more than one mandatory challenger for any reason. No bout shall be considered a mandatory defense unless expressly approved as mandatory by the WBC and made exclusively against an official mandatory challenger designated by the WBC. A challenger who wins the title inherits the mandatory defense obligation of the champion he defeated unless, listen to this one, unless the WBC in its sole discretion otherwise directs. So there's always a workaround for every rule that's in place here is always predicated with unless the WBC in its sole discretion otherwise directs. So they have the right to not follow their rules if they don't want to, right? Timing and extensions of mandatory defense obligations. The time period for a mandatory defense states in these rules may be altered. See, the rules may be altered. So they can change the rules. So what's the sense of having a rule if you don't have to be held accountable to that rule, right? Think about that. Stated in these rules may be altered by the WBC in its sole discretion under special circumstances. What's a special circumstance? That's a vague statement, right? Anything can be deemed a special circumstance in the eyes of the WBC, and we've seen it, right? Seen guys not have to make mandatory defenses for over 2 years, year and a half, whatever. Some fighters don't even have to make a defense. They make one mandatory defense within a 2-year period, right? It's been 2 years will elapse, and a mandatory defense isn't even ordered at that point in time. So it's ridiculous, right? We know that. Including a champion, if a champion has defended the title in a voluntary defense against a WBC contender, the WBC may have deemed a mandatory challenger. No mandatory bout may be contested until such time as is required for a mandatory defense under these rules and regulations, including any extensions that may be granted by the WBC, once again, in its sole discretion. Everything is predicated by in its sole discretion, right? The WBC shall always have the discretion to designate a mandatory challenger by ordering a final elimination bout of 2 qualified contenders, designated a qualifying challenger as the official mandatory challenger, or ordering a unification bout with the champion of another organization recognized by the WBC. So they can order unification. Obviously, they want a unification because usually unifications are bigger money fights, and they get a bigger sanction fee. So these rules are designed. These rules are designed to allow the WBC to basically make as much money as they can off of a fight, right? Through their sanctioning fees. Okay? So it's not about if you earn a title shot based on merit, it's all money. They've showed you that, right? Look what they did to Sergio Martinez. They stripped Sergio Martinez, made him the diamond champion, right? And they had Chavez Jr. fought, I think, someone else. I forget who it was. It was a German guy. I think it was Sebastian Speak. Yeah, they had Chavez Jr. fight Sebastian Speak, right, for the vacant title. Why? Because they felt Chavez Jr. was a bigger name. They wanted to make more money off of him. So this is ridiculous how the WBC works here. It's just disgusting, right? It's really questionable practices, to say the least, right? To say the least, it's the way that this organization is run is very questionable, right? Very questionable and dubious. For the avoidance of doubt, the highest rated available boxer in the WBC rankings is never solely by virtue of position the official mandatory challenger, notwithstanding anything to the contrary, including any communications attributed by the WBC. No boxer shall be considered as or claim any privileges associated with being a mandatory challenger unless the boxer has been officially designated as such by the WBC president or the president's designated representative, and the WBC Board of Governors, right, has voted to authorize or ratify the designation of such boxer as a mandatory challenger. So that is the most contradictory, ridiculous thing ever. So just because you're ranked number 1, they could have a guy who's ranked number 5. They could have a guy who's ranked number 15. As long as you're in the top 15, right, you can get a title shot. They could have a 12th ranked contender as the mandatory and put him above the guy who's ranked number 1. So this is just a joke, guys. So it's been over a year and a half since Tyson Fury's made a mandatory defense, right? So they could sit there and say, "Oh, well, we're going to give him, a special exemption request, and we're not going to enforce the mandatory right now on him, right? Because of special circumstances." What are the special circumstances, really? Right? They already proved that they weren't negotiating in good faith, because you can allow a unification to trump a mandatory according to their rules. So that it seems as though that's what they did in the case of Fury versus Joshua. But once he showed you that he wasn't negotiating in good faith, then that gets thrown out the window, right? You already gave him a special exemption because of that. Now, obviously, he got COVID, right? Now that's going to be looked upon as a special circumstance. But at what point do you hold the guy accountable? Like, he got COVID because of his own irresponsible behavior. He wasn't even vaccinated, and he was out going in large crowds without being fully vaccinated, right? So does he deserve a special exception because of that? And now they're talking about having this having this fight with Wilder in October, right? So think about this. You got February to February. That's 1 year. Because the last time he won the title in February of 2020, right? So then you got March. So that's a year. So then you got March, April, May, June, July, right? So that's a year and 5 months right now. Then you got August, September. That's a year and 7 months. And then you got October. So it'll be a year and 8 months, right? It'll be a year and 8 months, right? It'll be a year and 8 months if he even fights in October. We don't even know if the fight's going to happen in October. So it'll be a year and 8 months that Tyson Fury will not have defended this title. Now, you already gave him a special exception because you didn't want to stand in the way of undisputed. Well, they just showed you right there through their own incompetence or through their own deception or through their own nefarious behavior, right? Whatever you want to put on that. It's not all those things, nefarious, incompetent, disingenuous. Those are all negative things, right? Nothing positive there. So they already blew one chance, right? They already blew the first exception, right? due to whatever you want to call it, negligence, nefarious behavior, or just deception, dishonesty, just being disingenuous. They already blew that first exception. Now, the second exception gets thrown in there because he got COVID. Now, obviously, they have to delay the fight because he got COVID. But he got COVID through his own negligence, right? Through his own irresponsible behavior, right? And it was put out there that he was fully vaccinated when he wasn't. So at what point does the WBC step in there and say, why are we going to continue to give this guy chances when he keeps fucking up? He and his team and his promoter keep fucking up. At what point do you just say, you know what? This has gone on long enough, right? We're going to step in here and strip him. Why not have Deontay Wilder and Dillian White fight for the vacant title? Why not? That's a big fight. Why not do that fight? Why not do that fight? Right? As much as I like Tyson Fury, I don't like what's going on right now. I don't like how this WBC title, right? I don't like how this WBC title is being held hostage right now by Tyson Fury. We got a champion who's never defended his title. Every time this guy's become champion, we all know this, and I keep repeating it time and time again because I want to stress upon the fact that this guy's never defended his title. And every time he's in a position to defend his title, something happens, right? The first fight was a draw. And the understanding was that they were going to go right into a rematch. But what does he do? He fights two tune-up fights in between. And then he goes on record and says, after the Wilder fight, if I win, I'm going to fight 2 more tune-ups. So he's not even going to go into a unification fight with Joshua, even if he beats Wilder. And then he's telling the public and basically telling the WBC that he's going to fight 2 more tune-ups. So if he fights 2 more tune-ups, right, another year is going to go by without a mandatory defense. Another year is going to go by without a unification. So at what point does the WBC step in and say, you know what, enough is enough with this guy? He's not reliable. He's irresponsible, right? He's not fit to be champion. As much as I love the guy as a fighter, as much as I laugh my ass off listening to him talk when he's giving interviews, and I love listening to him talk trash or whatever, right now he is hurting boxing. He is hurting the heavyweight division. Something needs to be done. A year and a half has gone by, and it'll be almost 2 years that'll go by before this man will defend this title. Controversy seems to follow this guy wherever he goes, and for the most part, it's his own fault. It's his own fault. Nobody told him to not get the second shot. Nobody told him to go into a crowd of 73,000 people without being fully vaccinated and without wearing a mask. Nobody told him to do those things. Nobody told him to fly people in from the UK, right, who possibly could be infected with COVID. According to John Fury, they're saying that one of the sparring partners was the one that brought COVID into the camp. Was he tested? Right? So once again, whether this is BS or not, okay, or whether it's incompetence or whether it's corruption, one thing's for sure. It's because of his behavior, right, and his decision-making, right, that this fight continues to be delayed. All right? Can't blame Team Wilder for this. As much as people may not like what Wilder has said after the second fight, as much as they don't like the excuses that he came up with, right? As much as they don't like the fact that he fired Mark Breland, that's fine. You don't have to like those things, right? You don't have to like those things, but I don't see how anyone can accept what's going on right now from Fury's side either, right? You can't absolve Fury and his team and Bob Arum for this irresponsible, incompetent, right, behavior. You can't absolve them from this. You can't. Let me go back and read some of these super chats. I apologize to you guys. I was getting really wrapped up in this. Thank you so much, Donkey Boxing. Excuse me, for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Expert genius. Read the WBC Silver Champion rules for white fans. I don't want to. I don't want to get a headache, bro. Sorry. I would, but I don't feel like getting a headache. I can only read so much of their rules. So now Dillian White. Dillian White is the interim champ, right? Why not just have him and Wilder fight for the? Why not just have him and Wilder fight for the vacant title, and just strip Fury at this point? Because who knows what's going to happen in October? Who knows what's next? Some people are saying they don't even believe Fury has COVID. They're talking about the poor ticket sales. They're talking about maybe Fury's not ready. Whatever the case may be, this fight keeps getting delayed because of him, because of his issues, because of his problems, right? So we got to call it like it is, right? We got to call it like it is. We got to be objective here. And I'm the biggest Fury fan, like I said, on YouTube probably. I've been riding with this guy since the beginning. I'm the guy who always picked him to win. I picked him to beat Klitschko when everyone was laughing at me when he was a 4-1 underdog, right? I picked him to beat Wilder both times. And now I'm picking him to beat him a third time, right? But at this point, I have to question whether or not he or his team really want this fight. I have to question it because it's almost like I said before in yesterday's video, Fury seems to be the type of person that just self-sabotages himself. Seems like he just doesn't give a fuck, right? Think about this. I had the opportunity to get vaccinated, right? I have the opportunity to get vaccinated, and I got vaccinated back in April. I got both my shots. Why did I get both my shots? Because I wanted to be able to go out and do the things that I normally did pre-COVID, right? And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, why not protect myself and protect others, right? I want to go back to normalcy, right? So what did I do? Right? What did I do? I got the vaccine, right? So now I can go places. I mean, obviously the state of emergency is lifted, but for my own peace of mind, right? For my own peace of mind, I don't want to. How would I feel, right? Because I got COVID back in November. I got a little sick for about 10 days. I got over it, whatever. But how would I feel if I didn't get the vaccine, right? Even though I got the antibodies, I could still probably get COVID again, but I probably wouldn't have as bad as symptoms. But here's the thing. How would I feel if I was around an older person and I gave it to them and they got sick and they died because of me? Like how would I feel? I go to the gym. And sometimes I go to the gym in the morning, right? And there's elderly people in there. How the fuck would I feel, right? If I didn't get my vaccine, right? And I talk to some of the old vets at the gym. I talk to them. I say, "Hey, how you doing?" Give them a fist bump. "Hey, looking good," whatever, right? How would I feel if I found out a month went by, I didn't see that person? I'm like saying to myself, where is this person? And then I find out they passed away due to COVID. in the back of my mind, and again, I'm not trying to sensationalize anything here. I'm really not. But how would I feel? Like back in my mind, I'm saying, "Damn." And then I go and get a COVID test, and I test positive for COVID, right? Maybe a week later, right? Whatever. How would I feel knowing that possibly I was the person that gave him COVID? How would I feel? How would I feel? And Tyson Fury didn't think of any of that. Tyson Fury was around people, 73,000 people of all shapes and sizes, all ages, all age groups, right? All age groups. His wife's pregnant, right? And he's out and about, fucking around, right? Without being fully vaccinated, without wearing a mask, right? How irresponsible is that, man? I can't absolve him from that behavior, guys. As much as I like him as a person, I can't absolve him from that behavior. Knowing that not only it's not just the fact that he had a fight scheduled for millions and millions of dollars, right? And now the people that everyone involved in that event, like I said, all the people train, all the trainers, everybody, the sparring partners, the undercard, now everybody misses out on a payday. Everybody was spending money in preparation for this event, and now all that money is lost. And now when the fight gets rescheduled, the money has to be spent all over again, right? And this is what people don't understand. Oh, well, they didn't really lose it. Yes, they lost money. Just stop it. Stop it. So many people are being hurt by this irresponsible behavior. And the WBC seems to be the enabler here because they need, I'm sorry. They need to step in and strip the guy. They need to step in and strip the guy. There's just too much. There's too much that has gone on since he's won the title. All right. So many problems, so many issues, right? So many issues. Joshua already made a defense back in November, and he's getting ready. He's getting ready to make a defense. I believe in October, if I'm not mistaken. Right? And he was ready to fight, in this August. One thing I know for sure is I don't think Joshua was in on it. I think Joshua really believed that there was a possibility that he'd be fighting Fury in August. He was ready for it. So now all of a sudden, now you screw Joshua over. So now he's got to switch up. Now he's been training for Fury, and all the people that were working with him, they put all their time and effort, and now they worked for free, right? They worked for free. Because like I said, the fighter usually pays his team out of his purse when he gets paid, right? Now, if he wants to pay them ahead of time, that's his decision. But more often than not, the fighter doesn't do that. The fighter doesn't do that, right? Possibly the strength and conditioning coaches may get paid up front. They may charge for their services ahead of time. But I know the trainer usually gets paid out of the purse, right? The head trainer usually gets paid out of the purse. So everyone was working for nothing, even in Joshua's camp. So you had 3 training teams essentially working for free all that time. And again, he's affected everybody, not just himself, but everybody. At what point, like I said, is the WBC going to step in and say enough is enough? Thank you so much, Dale. He said, salute. You called it, Beeb. Fury disappoints again. He most certainly did. He most certainly did. It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what you guys think. Do you think I'm right here? Do you feel the same way I feel? Or do you think Fury was just unlucky? It's hard for me to take that stance. It's hard for me to have that opinion because, once again, this is just, in my opinion, very irresponsible behavior. And now if these reports are true that he's going to go fly back home to the UK, He's going to get in an airport with a lot of people, large group of people in the airport. He's gonna go in the airport knowing he has COVID, right? And has with the potential of infecting others. Then he's gonna get on the plane with more people. Again, with the potential that he's going to infect others. Then he's going to go back to his family, right? Possibly infect his wife, who's pregnant. At what point does this guy just step up and do the right thing and act like a man and be responsible? Right? At what point? So that's all I got, guys. I can't even really. I don't have any more to say about this whole thing, man. I'm just disgusted. The more and more I think about it, the angrier I get, the more frustrated I get, because I was looking forward to this fight in July. I was talking to a lot of people that was looking forward to this fight in July, and now we're not going to get it again. And then I started thinking about all the other things, and it made me even more angry, maybe even more frustrated. If a guy like me, a regular Joe on the street, can get vaccinated, why can't a world-class multi-million-dollar athlete like Tyson Fury get vaccinated? Deontay Wilder got fully vaccinated, right? His team got fully vaccinated, according to Shelly Finkel. No one's getting sick in that camp, right? Deontay Wilder wasn't out and about going to arenas, right? He wasn't going in arenas with 70,000 people. He was in seclusion. He was in seclusion, right? Fury's flying private. Who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows if he's flying for? He knows if he's flying private. He's still gonna be in interacting with people. I'm sure there's gonna be people on that plane. There's gonna be a staff. There's gonna be a pilot, right? Sure, he's gonna have to go to an airport with people to get on that private plane. I don't know if he's flying in a private plane. I would assume he's flying first class. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But I'm sure there's gonna be a staff of people on that plane. Someone's got to operate the plane, right? He's got to go to an airport. So let's see what happens. And then he's going to have to fly into another airport with more people in the UK. So he's going to interact with people one way or the other. So to me, it seems like the smart move would just be to stay put, quarantine for about 10 days, and get tested again to make sure you don't have it. Then you travel. That's what I would do. That's what I think most responsible people would do, right? Am I wrong? So it is what it is. No, in America, you only have to quarantine for 10 days. That was the new protocol here in New England. Anyways, we were told we only have to quarantine for 10 days. So that's what we were told. All right, guys, it is what it is, man. Thank you so much for joining me in the chat. Thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share the video. Subscribe. We put out a lot of content here. We would appreciate the support, and we do appreciate the support, but we'd appreciate if you give us the likes, share the videos, help us grow. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Spread the word. And Beeb is out. Thank you so much. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Peace out.